From the School of Journalism and Mass Communication at the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, this is Carolina Week.
Thanks for joining us for the April 25th edition of Carolina Week. I'm Brooke Baldwin.
And I'm Bridget Williams. We're proud to be bringing you coverage of Carolina news and events. A recent study conducted by UNC-Chapel Hill School of Law graduates shows that racial bias seems to exist in North Carolina death penalty rulings. Meanwhile, campus activists are campaigning to end executions.
The death penalty is about revenge and hate. You don't solve killing by killing.
Darby Tillis spent 9 years on death row in Illinois before he was acquitted. He was tried 5 times, a record in United States history. Tillis spoke on the UNC-Chapel Hill campus as part of a forum sponsored by the Campaign to End the Death Penalty, or CEDP. A recent study about racial bias in death penalty cases in North Carolina shows that defendants whose victims were white are 3.5 times more likely to receive the death penalty. But one lawyer says the issue is representation, not race.
If you're lucky to get a lawyer who will put 600, 800 hours into your case, the chances of your getting a death penalty are significantly low.
The town councils of Chapel Hill, Carborough, and Durham are among more than a dozen that have resolutions for a moratorium.
There was a poll in the Charlotte Observer that showed that 62% of North Carolinians were in favor of a moratorium in the state. But we don't really see a big response from the state legislature, do we?
The study was the largest investigation of race and the death penalty in state history. The principal investigator says he found that cases involving white-on-white or black-on-black crime were less likely to result in the death penalty.
But if it is interracial, you find that the death sentence, the chances that the death sentence gets imposed is higher.
Because of concerns about the death penalty process, Illinois and Maryland currently have moratoriums on executions. Tillis says the death penalty must be laid to rest everywhere.
The death penalty is too final. It's dead wrong. You cannot kill a man and bring him back 5 years later after he's found innocent.
The study's findings will be presented to the North Carolina General Assembly, where lawmakers have introduced bills for a moratorium. Do you think the death penalty is applied unfairly? That's our web poll question for this week. Click on our website at carolinaweek.org to let us know what you think. Last week's web poll question asked whether or not North Carolina should have a state lottery. 444 people replied that we should have a lottery compared to 181 who felt that we should not. That's 71% for a lottery and 29% against.
Last week, we asked you to tell us what you think about a lottery in North Carolina. A study released this week by one UNC graduate student suggests a lottery would do more harm than good. Abigail Bales presented her year-long research to UNC faculty, students, and community members at a recent conference in Chapel Hill. Bales says North Carolinians will spend more than $1 billion in just 4 years on a lottery, and the social costs from it, mainly problem gambling behavior, end up making the lottery a gamble for North Carolina.
You simply can't erase the problem of problem and pathological gambling. So to be fair, when decision makers are looking at whether or not to have a lottery, they need to consider both the economic fiscal costs and the social costs and how those balance out.
The study also shows that the poor and African Americans end up spending and losing out the most.
Decision day for 2001 freshman class is May 1st. By this deadline, applicants must let the university know if they plan to enroll at Carolina. Thousands of applications are in, processed, and filed. And now it's time to wait to hear from the high school seniors about which universities they want to attend. Many of these students have been on college campuses recently, taking tours and learning more about the university. The average SAT score of these applicants is 1,300, and most have already began completing 3 and 6 college-level courses during high school. Admissions Director Jerome Lucido says that every year the applicant pool is more competitive. And of the 16 UNC campuses, Chapel Hill is one of the most selective.
I think Carolina, in terms of its competitiveness, is at the highest level of competition among the 16 university system schools, and they vary from nearly open admission, as long as you've met a certain minimum coursework pattern, to very highly selective like UNC-Chapel Hill.
The incoming freshman class will be 3,500 students, with 82% by law coming from North Carolina.
Voters' approval of a bond referendum meant $500 million for UNC-Chapel Hill, but the state's budget shortfall could cut into that amount. The Carolina community faces a more than $25 million budget cut. Last week, a North Carolina Committee on Education requested a plan to cut 7% from the UNC system's budget. Not only could faculty positions be cut, funding for research, library, and classroom supplies would also be reduced. UNC-Chapel Hill officials are looking for answers and a new proposal, and hoping the cut isn't as bad as it looks right now.
The North Carolina State Quarter is now in circulation. People across the country can see a little Carolina history when they head to the cash register or the vending machine. The North Carolina coin features the words "First Flight" and has an image of the Wright brothers' historic feat at Kitty Hawk. This famous flight took place on December 17, 1903. The plane traveled 120 feet. Ours is the 12th State Quarter released, and former Governor Jim Hunt made the final decision about the coin's design.
In addition to the quarter, there's something else in circulation on college campuses that's relatively new.
Find out what so many students are getting their hands on next on Carolina Week.
I think you should wear a tie.
Dad, nobody wears ties to school.
Tie says you're serious. It'll make a good impression. And remember, you're there to study,
to learn, and to make something of myself. I got it.
Almost half of all UNCF students are the first in their family to go to college.
They have some great architecture classes.
Dad, I'm not really interested in architecture.
Well, keep your options open. And remember, no girls until
my work is done.
And I'd make sure that I got my lunch.
Dad, you're not going. I am.
I know.
Well, listen, we better get going. Don't want to be late the first day, you know.
Oh, yeah.
And when you're the first to go, you're going for a lot of people. The United Negro College Fund. A mind is a terrible thing to waste.
They say it's hip, they say it's cool, it's ecstasy, and they say it's everywhere. Ecstasy, or E, is often referred to as the dance club drug, but nowadays its use isn't limited to the club scene. Lots of college students are well acquainted with ecstasy.
The fact that it is so widespread that I think people that I wouldn't imagine doing rolls do rolls. And I've definitely talked to people that don't know the full effects of rolls and still have eaten them for the first time just because they're so available.
So available that teens are trying it too, whether they call it eating rolls or doing ecstasy. According to a survey funded by the National Institute on Drug Abuse, more than 1 million high schoolers have tried ecstasy at least once. And club goers aren't the only ones popping the pills either.
It's not just us, it's the club,
spreading.
it's the ravers, it's the fraternities.
A variety of people are doing it simply because they say it makes them feel good. But sometimes feeling good can be too much.
It's very easy to get too good a roll to the point where it's not fun because it's a little too strong and you're grinding your teeth really hard and you're not even having fun.
Short-term effects such as heightened sensations and teeth grinding are common, but the drug's controversy on college campuses stems from its long-term effects. Because the drug is relatively new, it's not what you know that can harm you, rather, it's what you don't know.
Unless, quote, responsible mainstream media start to publicize how incredibly dangerous this drug is, I think that you're going to see kids deluding themselves that it's safe, I can do it.
Rolling or eating ecstasy appears to be safe because so many students seem to be doing it. With the end of the school year approaching, celebration is inevitable.
Like, for example, last day of school is a big night for people to roll, right? So many people will be out there rolling, having a lot of people never have rolled before. They'll eat a roll, no problem, just because everyone else is doing it.
Until college students become aware of the drug's long-term damage, kids will continue to experiment. For more information about ecstasy and how it affects the brain, you can watch a slideshow at dancesafe.org.
There's no debate that ecstasy use is a problem on some college campuses. In this week's Speak Out segment, we asked students their opinions about the availability and use of ecstasy on this campus.
I don't know if it's a problem at Carolina, but it is a problem for college students, just because it's a serious drug too. It's cheap, and it's pretty easy to get.
I know when I came in as a freshman, I hadn't really heard about it. I didn't really know what it was, but now you hear about it a lot more. I mean, and that's just 4 years. So I can see it becoming a bigger problem.
I do know people that have used ecstasy. I don't think it's a really big problem on campus, but I do think it's prevalent. I think that it's here and people are using it.
A lot of times people get caught in a situation where the pill's there and they're given the pill and they really don't think about it, and they just want to be in with everybody else.
I know it's used on this campus. I don't see it as a problem, but then again, I really don't know who does it and who doesn't.
Our sample is in no way scientific and should not be taken as widespread opinion on campus.
Before Carolina students start climbing the corporate ladder, they get to climb the bell tower and see how things look at the top. Seniors got to see this historic UNC-Chapel Hill landmark from a new angle as part of Senior Week. The soon-to-be graduates climbed the spiral staircases to the top of the tower. Some left their names as evidence that they'd been here before. Senior Christy Koch says that the climb gave her not only a bird's eye view of campus, but a nostalgic look back at her time at Carolina.
It's kind of a neat feeling to be up there, and yeah, well, you know, everybody up there is graduating, everybody's all excited, and people are writing their names up. And it's just a neat feeling, I think.
And a note to rising seniors, don't forget your cameras next year.
People are always looking for new ways to spice up their love lives. And Tuesday night at UNC-Chapel Hill, students learned 25 new secrets to smooching.
How'd you get interested in kissing? Come on, that's like saying, how'd you get interested in food?
Students file in to hear a seminar on the art of kissing based on the book by William Kane. Student couples demonstrated different kissing styles while Kane explained what was going on. Kane used real-life situations like trips to the dentist to show how you can turn everyday events into romantic moments.
Ambulances aren't the only way patients get to UNC hospitals. Carolina Week's Tim Nelson tells us about an emergency program that helps patients across the state, and it doesn't even involve sirens.
The engine's checked, the gear's packed, and Tar Heel 1 is ready to fly. The UNC Air Care staff waits for a mission. The call comes. Time is of the essence, and the crew, a pilot, nurse, and paramedic, springs into action. Tar Heel 1 is off the landing pad and into the air in less than 5 minutes.
There's no chaos, it's very methodical. It happens very quickly, though.
This time, it's a burn victim at a hospital in Clinton, needing transport to UNC hospitals. Less than 2 hours later, they're back, and the patient's headed down to the burn unit for care. For flight nurse Wendy Rash, that's what it's all about.
You're out taking care of people that need help, and it's a nice feeling.
A feeling they've enjoyed at UNC Air Care for the last 16 years, transporting patients from across the state who need help most.
90% of our patients are what you would call critical care.
If you get this ride, you're in bad shape.
Tar Heel 1 is expected to make more than 1,200 missions this year to emergency scenes and situations. And Program Director Patty Corbett says, rain or shine, staying busy is just fine for the staff of more than 70 pilots, paramedics, and nurses.
We're all here to transport, and I think that everybody really loves their job. And so when they don't get to go anywhere, it's almost disappointing.
Pilot Rex Bartles says teamwork is the secret to success for UNC Air Care. And he says he's got the easy job.
They have to save a life. All I have to do is fly the machine.
And they'll continue to fly 365 days a year, 24 hours a day.
The only difference between night and day is that the secretary goes home.
In Chapel Hill, I'm Tim Nelson, Carolina Week.
Corbett says that although speed is important, safety is UNC Air Care's top priority. The program has never had an accident.
We certainly haven't had good flying weather today.
No, the rain and storms right now are a definite change from previous weather this week.
Yeah, well, we did have some storms roll in with a cold front last night, but the rain really came at a great time because we hadn't seen any in a while. And speaking of time, this week's weather question is, in order to coordinate forecasts, meteorologists use what standard time? Is it A, Eastern Standard Time, B, Global Standard Time, C, Central Daylight Time, or D, Zulu Time? That answer and your weekend forecast are coming up after the break.
don't know about the most important thing is where most fires start. It's right in your kitchen. If a kitchen fire starts, don't go running around. Get out of that house, get on to safe ground. Only parents should be cooking on the stove, and they should never leave what they're cooking unattended to. Pot holders, dish towels, paper towels, and especially clothing. They should all be kept away from the burners.
Gotta be cool. It's cool about fire safety.
What's wrong, Mrs. Jenkins? Come on, you can tell me.
Well, there's no funding for the new reading program, and I've tried everything and nothing works. It's not fair. Nobody ever gives me funding.
When adults run out of ideas, they can feel as frustrated as kids. ConnectForKids.org has thousands of resources for helping kids in your community.
Mrs. Jenkins, holding your breath is not going to get you any more funding.
ConnectForKids.org, guidance for grown-ups.
Hi, and welcome back to Carolina Week. April showers and a few spring thunderstorms rumbled through the area this Tuesday night with the passing of a cold front, causing students to dodge puddles and face much cooler temperatures. This change from the summer-like conditions earlier in the week, though, was a result with a cold front that thankfully is on its way out of the region, as you can tell with these quick-moving clouds and kind of gray outlook. But like I said, the good news was we did need this rain. We hadn't seen much in quite some time. And if we take a look at just what these numbers all add up to be, you can see that from April 1st to the 24th, we only had 9/10 of an inch of rain. If you look at the normal, that was only 65%. That's way below average for this month. You know, April showers do tend to bring those May flowers, but the good news is in one day on April 25th, we doubled, or just about doubled, the amount of rain we'd seen during the entire month. So the rain couldn't have been better timed, and hopefully we'll see some bright May flowers as a result of this game of catch-up we were able to play just yesterday. So let's take a look at what caused this weather and what's on the way for your weekend. You can see the low pressure system on its way off the coast and the big rain system that it pulled up with it. The good news is behind it is a high pressure system situated over the Gulf, which means warmer temperatures and sunny skies for the remainder of the week and into the weekend. Now, with a decrease of clouds in the sky, we're also going to see an increase in temperatures as the surface really gets to heat up. Friday, Saturday, and Sunday are going to make a jump into the 80s. And if we take a look at your Carolina Week 4-day forecast, you can see that your weekend is shaping up to be one wonderful looking weekend, weather-wise at least. On Friday, we see sunny skies with a high of 76. Saturday jumps up to 80, and Sunday is mostly sunny skies with a high of 82. Now, the beginning of next week looks wonderful as well, with mostly sunny skies and highs in the upper 70s. And this weather trend should stay around for quite some time, so you have that to look forward to. Now, if the beach is in your plans for the weekend, on Saturday we have a high of 84 degrees. On Sunday, mostly sunny skies again and a high of 80. If you're planning on heading out to the mountains to enjoy the weather out there, things look wonderful as well, very spring-like. On Saturday, a high of 72 degrees, and on Sunday, mostly sunny skies and a high of 79. So you couldn't really ask for much better weather than this. It's very spring-like, very tolerable. It should be a great weekend.
Good. Sounds great.
So getting back to that weather question real fast, have you had time to think about what the answer might be?
I'm going to go with global. What do you think, Brooke?
I think Eastern Standard Time, maybe.
Well, I figured I'd get people with this one. It's actually Zulu time.
Wow.
If that one sounds like the one I made up. It's actually another word for Greenwich Mean Time. But when forecasts go up and when weather balloons are launched, they go up at 12Z for Zulu.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Got me there. When you guess that. Thanks, Callie.
No problem.
Well, Devon, spring sports, the weather's been all over the place. It doesn't really lend itself for competing outside.
I wish the weather would make up its mind.
Yeah, I tell you, rain's expected in April, but this 40-degree temperature difference makes baseball just a little bit tough. So, coming up in sports, we'll introduce you to a multi-dimensional ball player. And Duke and Carolina compete for a big golden urn. And going to break, the NFL draft was this weekend. Tar Heel Brandon Spoon can now call Buffalo his new home. Algie Crumpler will join #1 pick Michael Vick in Atlanta. Cedric Hodge and Dante Finger were also drafted. In the WNBA draft, Laquanda Barksdale went 9th to the Portland Blaze. Juana Brown also joined the party and will now play for the Seattle Storm.
To change the world, you don't have to be rich or famous or play ball or lead countries. All you have to do is tell your family you want to be an organ donor. Talk to your family about organ donation. Talk to your family about donating life.
Welcome back to Carolina Week. The Tar Heels had high hopes entering Tuesday night's games against UNC Wilmington. Those hopes quickly gave way to rain and Wilmington's bats. Following a 45-minute rain delay, the Seahawks got off to a fast start. They scored 3 runs off Carolina starter Dennis Robinson, who only made it through the first inning. Reliever Bo Dickinson didn't fare much better as he gave up 2 runs in his only inning of work. The Heels also committed 4 errors on the day, newly on that one, which didn't help their cause. The lone bright spot was Jason Howell, who hit his first home run as a Tar Heel the old-fashioned way. His 2-run inside the park homer wasn't enough as the Heels lost the game 11-5. The Heels are now 25-21 on the season. As the baseball team tries to recuperate from several losses, one player reminds his team it's just a game. Carolina Week's Ayanna Banks has a story of the very versatile Chris Maples.
Chris Maples says baseball is his life.
I basically live at the baseball field.
He's a versatile infielder who's played first, second, and third while at Carolina.
Well, I think I'm pretty versatile off the field, too, because of my personality. Like, I don't have a one-track mind.
That's obvious. Off the field, Chris spends time with his dog, Phoebe, and enjoys his acting class.
I remember stopping by the house.
Though he admits he's not at the top of any class when it comes to grades. He says his love of motorcycles is no act. He loves being in control of a powerful machine because it brings him
freedom. You just got all sorts of freedom. Just do whatever you want to. Pretty much go as fast as you want to, too, because cops aren't catch you.
There are several things that set Chris apart on the field. Coach Mike Fox says Maple's speed and arm strength are pluses, and so is his ability to keep everybody loose.
I think he's kind of the team cut up a little bit, that he makes sure we all don't take this too seriously, you know, that we realize, hey, it's just a, it's just a game.
But it's a game Chris hopes to continue to shine in and have fun with for years to come. In Chapel Hill, I'm Ayanna Banks, Carolina Week.
Chris Maples will be the only starting senior on next year's team. The Women's Professional Soccer League is underway. The WSA consists of 8 teams from around the country. One of those teams is the Carolina Courage. The Courage play their home games at the redecorated and temporarily expanded Fetzer Field. 3 former Tar Heels play for the Courage, and they kicked off their season this past Saturday against the Boston Breakers. The Breakers crashing the opening party with this Marin Minert goal. The Courage have plenty of chances to even the score as the ball gets kicked around, almost a handball here, but this huge reshot will be rejected by the post right there. Breakers win 1-0. Here's a suggestion. Why don't we widen the goals? The Carolina Courage next play the Washington Freedom, featuring Mia Hamm on Saturday night here in Chapel Hill. Duke and Carolina are involved in a new competition, and unfortunately, the darker shade of blue won this year. The Carlisle Cup is a season-long competition between Duke and Carolina, with each of the 16 varsity sports counting for 3 points. Duke leads the competition 26-21 after this past Sunday's baseball win. Since only rowing's point hasn't been decided yet, Duke will have bragging rights until the next athletic year. Joseph Forte has until May 13th to decide if he's leaving Carolina for the NBA draft, but according to one source, he may have already made up his mind. GoHeels.com is reporting this week that according to strong inside sources, Joseph Forte will declare for the NBA draft after only 2 seasons at Carolina. One of those sources quoted says that Forte would be a late lottery pick in the draft. Forte hasn't made any formal statements since the NCAA tournament. It'll be really interesting to see. He's got a lot of options he's got to weigh, and we're just waiting for his decision right now.
And I'm sure Forte fans will be sad to see him leave Carolina.
It must be really difficult for him, though, to wrestle between millions of dollars or however much they're offering and a college degree.
It's a tough decision.
Thanks, Devin.
Spring is in the air, and many people are heading outdoors to enjoy the warm weather.
We'll give you a glimpse of what many people are doing out on Franklin Street when Carolina Week continues.
When you buy disposable and overpackaged products for your home, you're really saying, I'm fine with depleting natural resources. Pollute our air and water. Energy, wasted. People tell you, hey, go for less packaging. Check out reusables. Buy stuff in bulk. Well, you tell them, no thanks. I'd rather throw it all away. Buy smart, waste less, save more.
His father left home today.
I'll be there.
Forever.
Wait and see.
He'll be twice as likely to drop out of high school. 30% more likely to attempt suicide.
'Cause I love you.
Even if you don't live with your kids, your emotional and financial support gives them a better chance.
The best friend you ever had.
My favorite place to study late at night is downstairs in the undergraduate library. And in the front corner, you know, underneath the reference desk, there's this broken-in armchair. It's comfortable enough to study in, but the springs stick out just enough to keep you from getting too comfy. No one knows the real Carolina like a student.
What services come to mind when you think of the American Red Cross?
The Red Cross does blood drives, don't they?
They help out with natural disasters.
Giving blood.
Tornadoes and hurricanes.
Blood.
Natural disasters.
I'll bet you didn't know that the American Red Cross also provides emergency services for military families and delivers health and safety instruction in first aid, lifeguard training, and CPR. Contact your local Red Cross chapter to learn more about the services they provide.
It's an annual event with a rich 29-year history of fun and games up and down Franklin Street.
And it's for the whole family. It's Chapel Hill's Apple Chill Street Fair, and Carolina Week's Caroline Patterson brings us the swinging sights and sounds. You'll see it's not just about apples.
Eating popcorn is really good this year. And the bands are better too.
It's got a great crowd, a real art-loving crowd, a lot of fun and great music and just a great environment. We love coming here.
Knew it was gonna be fun.
An estimated 35,000 people came to Apple Chill to enjoy the diverse arts and entertainment.
If you'd like to share any story ideas you see on Carolina Week with a friend, click on our website at carolinaweek.org. Or if there's a story idea you'd like Carolina Week to cover, email us at carolinaweek@email.unc.edu.
That does it for this edition of Carolina Week.
Thank you for joining us, and be sure to come back next week. Until then, have a good week.
Good night.
If you have a story idea, contact Carolina Week at 843-8292. You can also visit us online at ibiblio.org/CW. If you have questions about this program, write Carolina Week at Campus Box 3365, UNC-Chapel Hill, North Carolina, 27599.